So, welcome to this week's episode of ADH Tea. Um, we have a very special guest. It's our first guest episode. We are recording on Zoom, and there were some reactions there. So, just to clarify, um, welcome to ADH Tea with me, Donna, the tea pioneer in the north of Scotland.
And me, Sarah, Witty Mama, intuitive empowerment coach and disabled mom of, what are we going to say, 3.5 at this point. Yeah.
And also, we'd also like to introduce Becky Jane, who is an incredible woman. I'm so excited that she's our first guest. She is an identity coach for women. She blends business strategy with tech confidence and deep identity work to help women rise up unapologetically in business and life. As the founder of the Business Creatrix, Becky guides women to break free from everything that has kept them small, dismantling self-doubt and step into their brilliance. She is known for being awesome, for being down to earth, no BS, and her empowering approach, helping women recreate. Let's start that sentence again. Helping women reconnect with their identity, build confidence on and off screen. Becky helps women stop hiding and start leading. So, welcome, Becky.
Thank you. I didn't know I was the first guest. What an honor. Thank you.
Starting off strong for sure.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So we always start with a kind of little question at the start. We'll go over to Sarah first. So Sarah, what is in your cup and what is on your mind today?
Well, listeners, hold on tight. You're not going to believe this. I am finally out of my block of drinking hot drinks. I'm finally back on the hot drinks train again, and I am drinking a coffee. Probably not the best thing for this time of day, but here we are. I'm embracing it all and enjoying it. And what's on my mind? I'm at a really kind of pivotal moment in my life at the minute. As you all know, in the last episode, I revealed a little secret, and there's some other big changes happening in my life at the moment, and I'm really excited to have this incredible special guest on tonight, because I know that any kind of wobbles and self-doubt that I'm having right now will be firmly banished by the end of this conversation, and I'll be ready to take the world by the horns. So I'm really excited.
Yes. Kick his ass.
And Donna, what's on your mind and what's in your cup?
So I am so excited to also have Becky on. I'm buzzing. I really am. I absolutely adore the way that she works. She's made me realize a number of things about myself and kicked my bum very lovingly, but very firmly. And what's in my cup is actually black tea from Iran that I got from the Prague Tea Festival.
Ooh, fancy.
It's lovely. It's handpicked as well, and the producers are absolutely lovely. I got to meet them, and it was incredible.
Wow, and that's a really bougie cup as well. I know listeners can't see it, but it's really bougie.
Am I going to have to post a picture of my cup again after you keep
Yeah,
commenting on
it's almost like it's between like nearly a wine glass and a cup, nearly, isn't it?
You know how you get the kind of Moroccan teacups? I think that's kind of what it is like.
Okay.
You know, for the kind of mint tea, I think. I don't really know, but I like it
Well,
anyway.
I'm new to the tea world, so I'm not familiar with.
You learn something new every single episode.
Yes, I do.
So, Becky, what is in your
Mhm.
cup and what is on your mind?
Oh, well, I'm matching with my top that's making me look like a huge marshmallow on screen. But we're matching Sarah's vibes. We've got coffee. Again, probably not the best time to be drinking it, but I am actively cutting it down. So go me. This is actually my third cup today, so I'm winning. On my mind, interestingly, I'm in the kind of same vibe as Sarah. So I am literally on the cusp of something really, really pivotal, that is about to kind of birth itself into the world. Very apt as well. Is about to like come into reality, like I'd say by the end of this evening. It's
Ooh.
like so huge for me, and it's probably going to be an interesting topic as well. It's probably going to bring up some flavors to chat about. But yeah, that's what's on my mind. I'm apprehensive. I am, I guess, because nobody's really safe from self-doubt and overthinking. Especially when there's changes afoot. So I am still very much in the, are people going to get it? Are my mentors going to whoop my butt and say, no, this isn't for you? While I'm over here saying, well, I'm going to do it anyway. Because that's me. I'll do it anyway.
It's the key, isn't it? Feel the fear and do it
Mhm.
anyway. Have the wobble and proceed onward. It's the key.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the key. And that's what I love about you most is you're unapologetic and fearless in your pursuit of what you want. And I love that about you so much.
Thank you. And I think, being fearless, I think a lot of women in particular feel like they have to be completely fearless to do something, like no fear, no doubt, no apprehension or questioning themselves. They think that they have to have all of that figured out and settled before they take those steps. And actually, it's really not true. The art of actually being fearless is being able to do what you want to do what you need to do, despite feeling those things. That's where the fearlessness comes in. And I come back to a quote that I share on my own podcast and with my own clients and audiences. It's not about having enough confidence to take the step or to take the plunge or to surrender or whatever, but actually it's to have the courage, because it's the courage piece first. The confidence is like a byproduct of the courage, because confidence comes later, because you realize taking that step didn't kill you, didn't, like, the whole world didn't implode because you did the thing. And that's where the confidence piece comes from, and that self-trust. And we're in our leadership era, so that's where it comes from.
Love that. Like confidence comes from a layering of courage.
Yeah.
Continuing to take have the courage to take the step, and then it layers up to confidence. Love that.
Yeah.
Really love that.
Yay.
And just to note that we will have the link to Becky's podcast in the show notes if you want to check that out as well. So just for context as well, you are also ADHD too.
Side note, currently undiagnosed. However, from the specialists and all the rest of it that I've been speaking to, they have said, like, undeniably, I wouldn't have a difficulty in having it confirmed. So I think it's really important. I think, especially in the neurodivergence world, because there are a lot of people who self-diagnose and can really not damage those who do have a diagnosis, but I think it makes things really murky. So I'm really conscious of, saying I'm not diagnosed officially just yet.
Yeah, I was going to say Sarah has the same, but it's just so difficult to get a diagnosis in certain areas. I mean, Sarah has actually been told that there's no waiting list. They just won't take anybody on.
And even, I'm worse than that. I was encouraged by my GP to explore the private route, and the private route isn't even taking any referrals at the moment. So it's like, but since meeting Donna, I've not only discovered parts of myself that I had long buried, but also I feel sane and really happy to embrace all aspects of my personality. So, and that, I suppose that's the good thing about doing this, is that one of us have a diagnosis, one doesn't, and we're happily creating together and doing amazing things in the world, just to show everybody that it's all okay.
There was one major thing that I really want to know more about, Becky, because you are a recovering people pleaser. I am aware.
Yeah.
And I have to say that meeting you, as I've mentioned before, was a massive pivotal moment for me, and for a number of reasons. But one of the things was the boundaries. Like, I had no idea until I started working with you, how to even set the boundaries, what that would even look like. So I would be really interested to know, was there one particular moment you had that you recognized the people pleasing tendencies, or how was it for you?
I would love to say like it was decades ago, but it really wasn't, interestingly. I also have many children, like Sarah. I have a whole army of them. And kind of motherhood became like everything revolved around it. But there was also this core people pleasing that I had from growing up to doing things for people, because this can sound so sad. I would do things for people, for other kids my age, because it meant they would be my friend. So essentially, I was kind of buying friendship because I felt so, I was pretty withdrawn and a bit of a loner as a child. And I preferred the company of adults, like teachers and things like that, because their expectations were lower than other children. I was picked on a lot, moved schools frequently as a child. I think I have attended probably no less than 8 different schools through my childhood. So having to make friends and build that level of trust to be seen and accepted was really difficult. So that carried on into like my adult life. I was always doing things to feel like I was bringing some value other than just me as a human being of value. So I suppose that kind of ties into the whole validation as a human and it being all external. So the boundaries piece didn't really come in until I'd say around 2018, 2019, when I was actually recovering from an OCD lapse. Because at that point, I know the whole kind of breakdown to break through sometimes is true, but it doesn't negate the fact it felt really shit at the time when you're kind of in the thick of it and you're in the trenches. But also there was a breakthrough because I really had to focus on my own well-being, my own recovery, and almost like rebuilding my identity because everything got stripped away. And it was through that recovery, that entire time, that I noticed the people that I was friends with all kind of disappeared. They would only pop up when they wanted something. Same with family. They stopped checking in. And all of a sudden, I realized that their value of me, the way they perceived my value, was the issue. And I was allowing them to treat me that way. I was showing them what my level of self-respect was, what my limits were, and it didn't matter if I was exhausted. And this is a very feminine thing as well, because we are at our core nurturers, is to want people around us to be happy. We're the caregivers, the nurturers. So like it's hotwired into our DNA as well to give. But there is a moment where it goes into the people pleasing. My childhood, there was quite a lot going on with caregivers to be seen as valuable, always getting things right. Because the alternative, we kind of won't delve into that one, but the alternative wasn't pleasant. So, like I said, the breakdown for me allowed me to almost find myself again underneath the friendships that what I thought were friendships but weren't, and just checking in with myself with how I felt about things. So it's really been very recent. I know 5 years, well, it's 7 years. 7 years doesn't sound like a lot, but you do start to learn a lot about yourself and what you'll tolerate, what you've been tolerating. And there are different aspects and different layers you've kind of got to go through beyond people pleasing. You've kind of got to look at the self-forgiveness aspect for kind of abandoning your own kind of, and this is probably going to feel like a gut punch, but like forgiving yourself for that self-abandonment and allowing people to take. And it's that grieving process as well in missed things and things that you haven't done because we've people pleased and we've put everything else above ourselves. So there's that. And also then the resentments that can build over time because we say yes to things when like our inner self wants to say no. So we can get quite angry at ourselves as well. So there's more than just people pleasing tied in to kind of look at.
That's really interesting because it actually sounds like because everything was stripped away, you didn't have to unmask as well. I was also thinking about the whole masking thing, and my thing is I'm constantly kind of taking away another layer. I'm like, oh wait a minute, that's still not me. Where am I in this whole kind of situation? So you actually kind of built it from the ground up rather than, yeah,
Mhm.
wow, that must have been a very raw experience for you.
Yeah. And I would love to say that it finishes there, but you know, the whole metaphor is completely true. Is we're onions. Once we've shed one layer, we were like, oh, look, there's another one that we've got to shed. And I don't really think we ever stop peeling back layers. So I don't really think we get to that place of 100% knowing who we are, because we're always shifting, we're always evolving, different experiences, different environments, different people we meet, adds, as much as we're taking layers off, and that gave me a very weird visual, as much as we're stripping layers off, we're also adding layers in replacement because of the experiences we allow ourselves to have, because we reconnect with another part of ourselves that we didn't know. And one of my favorite kind of metaphors that I carry around is humans. We're like diamonds. There are millions of facets within a diamond, and that's essentially like us. Like, no 2 days are going to look the same. No 2 days are going to get the same version of ourselves. But as long as, like, inside we know what we stand for, we know what we want, what we're accepting of, what we're not, it still leads to that strong sense of self and that self-concept.
It's been so almost therapeutic listening to you talk, because there's so much of what you said there I really relate to. And one thing I've noticed about myself, like I would go so far as to say 80%, if not more, of the friendships that I invested so much into, so much of my time and sacrificed so much of my self to build up, are not even present in my life anymore. And I would
Yeah.
say that each time, like it's a grieving process and a
Yeah.
frustration and a whole thing. And then I kind of go, well, I'm never going to let myself be in that position again. But when the new person comes along or the new group comes along, I find myself being wide open again. So even though I say I'm never allowing that, I still go in wide with my heart wide open to new people, new situations, new things. But I can get to the no a little bit quicker each time, or get
Yeah.
to the boundary each time a little bit quicker, because I've learned more about who I am and what I will and won't accept, as you say. So yeah, it does. I don't think we ever fundamentally change at our core. If we're open
Nope.
hearted, we're open hearted, and that's just who we are. But what we tolerate becomes a bit more defined each
Yes.
time. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What you were saying as well, like there's nothing wrong with being open-hearted. I think I would prefer to be somebody who was open-hearted and go into new connections like that than being completely closed off to it, because I think that it prevents experiencing things so much. But actually it's worth going into something with an open heart and with those boundaries from the off, so that when a connection doesn't feel like it's going to pan out and it's not for you, then you've got that boundary. But having that boundary from the off is not just respect for yourself, but if you go into things with them solid in the first place, then it lets people know themselves how you want to be treated, what what you'll tolerate, what you'll accept, what you're looking for. And I think going into connections, friendships, relationships, however that looks, is so valuable and so healthy, that if a person thinks, actually, this isn't for me, I can't respect those, then they get the opportunity to walk away, and it's not gonna sting to the point of, where it delves into the people pleasing and feeling rejected and feeling hurt. So it gives people that opportunity as well. So it's kind of teaching them how you want to be treated. If they're not down for it, then they're not your person.
100%. Yeah.
You know, it just paves the way for the next person to come along.
Totally
This
agree.
is very apt for me right now.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like business boundaries can also be really difficult at the start, but then I suppose that's also getting to know what you will tolerate as well and how you want to work as well. Because if you have no experience in kind of running your own business, then how do you know how other people work? Does that make sense? Or am I just
Yeah.
speaking randomness?
It's so funny you bring that up because that's quite relevant to me as well. And one of the things that I was pondering on just a couple of nights ago actually was the kind of work that we do. We find it so easy, not like the expertise side, not the business work side, but
Mhm.
like our skill set and our zones of genius. We find it so easy and it comes so naturally and we can do it so fast. So, for example, a client of mine, I created her an entire lead magnet in an hour. Which was like a 16-page journal, all designed, done, sent. And she was just like, you are just freakishly too quick. How do you do this? I'm like, because I know what I'm doing. And the kind of boundary that I was pondering on, obviously going into this new pivotal moment for me, is what kind of boundaries do I want to be looking at? Because we can fall into the trap of, well, because I find it so easy and I'm so quick at it, then it doesn't matter if I bend my own boundary. So there's a difference between, and I think that's going to be a key distinction for your listeners as well. There's a key difference between breaking a boundary and abandoning yourself and bending a boundary. You are still bending a boundary. You might not be breaking it, but you are essentially then saying to that person, yeah, I said my T and C say I work until 5 p.m. on weekdays and I'm not contactable on such and such day or after such and such time. But then you'd be like, oh, and I think this is an ADHD thing, isn't it? And you're like, oh, well, actually, I'm still full of energy. I'm still wide awake. So, why not? Let's message that client. Say, do you know what? I'm good for another hour. Do you want to send me some more over? And that is a perfect example of bending your own boundary. And it also sets the stage for that client thinking that it's okay to do it the next time. And it's going to be really confusing as well, because if we think about it in terms of parenting, so Sarah's going to get this one. If one day we put a boundary in with our child and we say, no, you can't have that chocolate before your dinner, and then the next day they come in, they're really hungry, you're really frazzled, there's loads of sounds, overstimulated, you know the one, and tea's going to be a little while, but they're in your ear like, like a little piranha, and you say, oh, just have the chocolate before your dinner. It's essentially the same thing that we're doing with our clients. We're basically bending our boundaries. We're making them really unclear. And the next time that they go over that boundary and they try and contact you and say, no, please refer to the terms and conditions. I don't work past this time. And then they're confused because they're like, well, last time you kind of went over it. So that also ties into like people pleasing, bending your boundaries. It's a whole thing that I, admittedly, like, recovering from people pleasing doesn't necessarily mean I'm always successful. I'm human. We're all human. So I still have to work at it and prioritize rest, even if I'm like ding, wide awake at 11 o'clock at night. Like, I need to physically shut the laptop down and move away so that if I am wired at 11 o'clock at night, that is not the time for work. So I'll go find something on Netflix so that I'm resting.
That's really, really interesting, because the job that I'm leaving is a job that I absolutely adore, like absolutely love it. And I'm not leaving by choice, but I know it's time to leave all the same. My boss was always saying to me, oh, take a break. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm in the zone. I'm loving it. And she actually said to me, that's the very time when you will burn out, when you're doing something that you love, because you won't feel the burnout coming. and you'll crash and burn way faster. Because if you were
Yeah.
struggling and something was a challenge, you're much more likely to just walk away from it and take a break. But because I was in the zone and absolutely loving life and doing amazing things, I was overdoing it by a mile. And she said burnout is coming faster than you think when you're
Mhm.
doing something that you love. And it really stuck with me because I was like, that's a good point, actually. You know, it's
Interestingly, you said at the start of this podcast that you were going to find this so helpful for you at the end, that actually the very things that you've just said is the place that I had been in for the past couple of days that was literally staring at me in the face, and it only literally slapped me across the face like a big wet fish whilst I was at Sunday service yesterday, because I'm having to attend so that I can have my wedding in that church. That's a whole thing. And I was sat there because I'm non-religious, but the venue is stunning. And I was practically falling asleep. So I'm in my own head just mulling things over, and it's the very same as what you've just brought up. When you love what you do and you are so passionate at it, it doesn't feel like work. You're
yeah,
so energized by it and fired up that you don't feel what's going on underneath. And that's been a whole thing for me for the past 6 months, where I've had to force myself to kind of step back and reevaluate. And what's come from that, and interestingly what you said is you love the work that you do and you adore it, and it's not been by choice. And I think that is one of the most powerful self-leadership things that you can do for yourself. Like, it's almost like we tell ourselves we have to wait for a toxic situation, almost like we have to wait for somebody who's toxic to disrespect a boundary, or that we have to wait for this really messy situation to occur to choose to walk away, when actually, you know, self-leadership really is about honoring yourself and realizing where something, even if it's good for you, even if the friendship is actually a really good friendship or a good connection, a good client, is leading yourself in a direction that works well for you, because you know it's what's right for you, regardless of whether it's a good situation or not. So that was really interesting, because I have took the decision to actually step back from just identity and confidence coaching, and I'm actually fusing all of my work into one kind of sphere, if you like, which means I'll be doing less of the personal identity work. And it's not that I don't love it, I adore it, like working with women, but it is a passion of mine. And passions don't always necessarily mean that they need to be part of your business. And that's been a big realization I've had to make, because I can't ignore the pull in other areas, and I want to honor that. And that's self-leadership as well. It's having that courage to step out there in that direction. So if it is leaving a job, I mean, I applaud it. I applaud you for the step you're taking, because when it's something good, it makes it all that much more difficult to make that decision. And that is leadership, like 100%.
Don't get me wrong, I've been sobbing daily, but I know it's like everything, every fiber of my being, the universe is giving me signs every day. There's just so many things that have happened that have just made me say, okay, it's time to go. And it really does sting, but I'd also much rather leave on a high than what you said, like wait until something goes really toxic and I've completely fallen out of love with it and then go, because then it's totally different energy. I'd rather leave and leave a hole than leave and people will be like, thank God she's gone, you know. So yeah, it's
Because it's prioritizing you. It's putting what you need first, regardless. And I'm sure that's always going to be a door that's open to you in the future. So it's not like you're saying goodbye forever and that's that. It's just this current chapter of your life. You are choosing that you are priority in this, and it's not working right now for me. So I'm taking a step back, and I can revisit it any time that I like, and that's the beauty of it. Should you choose to or not, that door is there, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. No, that's a really good perspective, and it's nice to have that reflected back as well, because you're just reaffirming everything that I've been feeling in my gut. So it's really nice to
Yeah.
see. I have a
But
couple of questions in terms of as one mama to another. So we've talked about, and interestingly enough, I had the whole biscuit before dinner conversation with my son just today, and he actually said to me, he said, I know before I even asked this question what the answer is going to be. So I was like, oh, that's good. We have this laid down, and you know that this is a boundary that can't be crossed. So I was like, good on you for trying anyway, but at least you're, explaining that you know. So that was good. But so we've talked about that and how it can be challenging when we're not, every day we're different, and some days we're hyperstimulated and just overwhelmed.
Mhm.
And it can be easy for those boundaries to drop sometimes. But what I'd love to explore with you is, as a spicy brained parent, and actually someone who's really clear on who you are and prioritizing
Mhm.
your own well-being and what it is you need, how do you think that helps you and enhances you as a parent?
Oh, that's a good question. Sorry to leave you out of this one, Donna.
It's okay. I will
But
absorb.
it might actually be helpful for you. There's going to be parts of this that are going to be really helpful as well. So we see a lot of out there about boundaries, boundaries for parents, boundaries for women. But what we don't see a lot of is we see what boundaries we can have, how we can voice them, having the confidence to voice them. But what we don't see a lot of is that pushback. And with children, there's pushback because at that age, they have no filter, they have no people pleasing going on. They're like bold as anything, and they'll ask. And most of my children are also spicy brained. So, in particular, my 7-year-old, he has zero filter, and he will be constant. We've been on the subject of, for my birthday, can I have? And we get that about 20, 30 times a day for the past couple of weeks. So his birthday isn't until late summer. So, you know. So when it comes to boundaries, what a lot of people don't actually delve into is how to handle the pushback when it arises, because it's the pushback. It's not just the guilt that we feel for having them or other people gaslighting and manipulating. It's the pushback is where you risk breaking a boundary or where you risk going back on them. So with my little ones, we all kind of have an understanding of personal space, that everybody deserves a voice in the house. And that everybody's voice, what everybody has to contribute, is of value. Like, nobody's more important than the other. I mean, my 2 younger ones are non-verbal, so that, between the rest of us. But it's also like respecting what they have to share rather than just seeing it as a load of nonsense. So that's one. Another one, especially on the days where I feel overstimulated, where there's a lot of sounds, a lot of lights, like, and when you're trying to do dinner as well, it can be really super tough. So what I have to do, especially with, in particular, my 7-year-old, is I have to ask him for a brain break. And I'll say, Mummy's cooking tea right now. I'm really busy. I need to make sure, that your tea's cooked. If you could go and sit down or go sit in the lounge or do a different activity just for 2 minutes. So I'm really specific with the time, because with children who are also neurodivergent, or younger children in general, they don't have a concept of time. So if you're really vague on your time, they're going to keep coming back because they don't have that concept. If you say in a minute, well, they'll come back in a minute and they'll keep coming back. And what then happens is you've not really communicated to them. You've not really shown them. So sometimes visual aids can work, like stand timers, or an egg timer. Those can work really well. But I express to him what it is that I need in that moment, and could he go and do another activity until I'm ready, and I will answer his question. So it's making sure that he's still getting the attention, and I'm still answering, whatever it is that he's asking for or wanting to share, and not completely just dismissing him, because that's also where people pleasing can start. It's if they do something good, then they get attention.
Mhm.
So people pleasing can start there as well. So please
Mhm.
my mummy, please my daddy, and I'll get their attention.
Mhm.
Same with, for example, this was a really good example as well. And I didn't realize I was doing it with my my eldest two. So for the listeners, I have five. So for my older two, I didn't realize I was doing it, and this would have been pre breakdown years and years and years ago when they were bringing things home from school and they were showing me and they were proud as anything, and it might only be scribbles on a paper. And I was taking a quick glance. I'm like, oh, that's fantastic. And I'd go back to what I was doing. And it only really sat with me when I was going through like almost like reparenting of myself,
Mhm.
that I was able to put myself in their shoes and think, okay, they're asking for my time, they're asking for my attention, and they deserve to have it. So if I am busy and I'm not able to fully look at that drawing, I say, can you go sit at the table and just, can you wait until I've finished, whatever task I'm on with, and I'll come and sit and we can have a look. So again, it's that kind of mutual respect. But in this house anyway, we have a lot of routine in place. So everybody knows what's happening and when, which has been
Mhm.
really important as a neurodivergent family. So I hope does that answer your question?
It does a lot, yeah, and it's funny. A lot of what you said again resonates. No surprise, knowing each person because everybody's undiagnosed. There's nothing in this
Yeah.
house so far, but I definitely can see similarities between like me and my daughter, and we've all become very good at articulating what it is we need from each other,
Mm-hmm.
and as you
Yeah.
say, respecting the personal space. Like my daughter will come home from school and she needs a good 10-15 minutes of nothing. Don't ask me any questions, don't
Yeah.
ask me to do anything. I just need to chill, decompress, and then when I'm ready I'll come and tell you about my day. And because we've tried the
Mm-hmm.
alternative of like asking her questions, and it doesn't, it's counterproductive for both
Right.
of us. She gets
Yeah.
frustrated, I get frustrated, and we just don't do that anymore. So it's knowing what
Yeah.
each other needs, and as you say again, respecting the boundaries, because kids have boundaries
Mm-hmm.
too.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. And for even women like our ages now,
Mhm.
we can all remember when we were told that it's not nice to not share. Like it might have been a toy or something new you might have bought, and somebody said, "Can I play within it?" It's no, and we get told straight away,
That's not nice.
it's not nice.
Mhm.
Share, and then you'd have it taken away. So what does that kind of teach you around your own possessions as a child?
Mhm.
That you must share everything that you've got because it's not nice to share. So you can kind of see where, when we're raised that way, where that people pleasing and lack of boundary and lack of, I can't think of the word. There is a word and I can't think of it. That self-advocacy, that's the one.
Yeah.
The lack of self-advocacy that is encouraged in children. So what you've just shared with your daughter there, you knowing that she needs that 15 minutes, that she's felt safe enough to express that's what
Yeah.
she needs. And that's a big thing in young girls as well, is that they feel confident in expressing what they need. And
Mhm.
actually having people in the family respect that, that's really big.
Yeah.
She's very lucky. She's very lucky.
Well, I think as you say, it's because like I remember just as you were talking there, I remembered a situation, and I was a grown adult when this happened, but I was working and I came in from work and I was sitting eating my dinner, and the
Mm-hmm.
phone rang and it was someone on the phone for me. And I said I was living with my grandmother at the time, and the phone rang and she said, "Oh, you need to go to the phone." But yeah, so my granny was like, "Don't be so rude, go and answer the phone." And she made me go and like leave my dinner and go. And I was like, I've just worked all day. I'm starving. And it really
Mm-hmm.
like, and I was told I was rude for prioritizing my nutrition over a
Yeah.
nonsense conversation on the phone. So yeah, and again, like I say, I was an adult, but if that's drip fed to you as a child, of course it's going
Yep.
to have an impact on who you
But isn't
become.
it interesting how you went and answered the phone?
Yeah.
And it's not that you broke a boundary of yours as an adult. It would have accessed part of you from when you were younger, which is where the reparenting comes in. It would have activated that part of you that remembered at your core all of the conditioning and the layers that, you've just been told off by your granny. So it would have put you back in that state. So it's reminding yourself that actually there are, even the listeners, as well as both of you and me, we can probably reel off countless times where we weren't allowed a level of self-advocacy, where we weren't allowed to express our need, where we were told it was rude or it was rude to ask, forced to do things like forcing to give a family member a kiss or a hug. There's so much in it, is it any wonder that many of us actually relate to this full-on people pleasing and overgiving and being obligated?
Quite interesting, because I think I just did the complete opposite, and I just did whatever I wanted to do and I just kept my mouth shut. Me and Sarah have spoken about this before, and yeah, so instead of me just doing the thing that I was supposed to do, just go to my room and just do whatever I wanted to do instead. But it is still there. It still obviously has an impact on how I interact with the world and how I interact with other people, and how I allow people to, I'm trying not to say walk all over me, but there we go, I've just said it.
But I suppose
Because you are not a people-pleasing doormat.
Recovering.
Even though you knew you were going to your room and not engaging, you knew that you were doing that under a cloud of disapproval.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I am willing to be disapproved of, to not put myself in that situation, but there's still a layer of negativity around that, of
not wanting to disappoint people either way. So that would have been the whole, I'm just not engaging with anything. Therefore, if I'm not engaging with it, I can't let people down. I can't disappoint people. I can't get it wrong. I can't upset anyone if I'm not participating in it. So interesting, that's, where we end up putting the masks on and things like that, and just there's so much. And the thing is, you won't be alone in it. I recognize some of it as well. I am a massive home person, interestingly, considering I'm quite extrovert. I'm an extroverted introvert. So I am a home person, massively, in the four walls. I love being at home, but I am also a Cancerian, so Cancerians are the homemakers. But I also feel that sometimes as well. Sometimes I can have an outing and I can be bubbly and extrovert, but my social battery has its limits. Before I want to come home, before I want to curl up in bed with Netflix and a tube of Pringles. But yeah, I really love that you brought that perspective as well, Donna, that you had, your childhood was different in terms of demands and requests of you when it came to things you were expected to do as a child, to give that polar opposite to what maybe me and Sarah has experienced. Just is I think gives the nuances to it, because not everybody had the same experience. And I think that's really important to bring to the table in terms of people pleasing, because it doesn't always come from those childhoods where you weren't allowed a voice, where you weren't allowed that level of self-advocacy, where your needs were kind of ignored, to the other side where you didn't have that. But it's interesting to see that actually it is nuanced. It is, every experience is going to be, unique to the next person on why that people pleasing has come in, because at the end of the day, it's also self-protection. It's a sense of safety within it as well. Because we tell ourselves to disappoint people, it's not safe. To not say yes to things, they're going to get really angry with me, or they're going to be disappointed, therefore it's not safe. And it's that level of self-trust that we ultimately start building. Like Sarah was saying, the more she's having the boundaries, the quicker and easier it is to put them in place, because she's building up the level of self-trust and resilience, so that if somebody does feel disappointed that she's said no, or whatever the boundary is, she's then able, even subconscious, core level, she's able to say your disappointment is yours. It's not for me to take ownership of. That's your disappointment. Like, it's the whole let them, if anybody's seen that floating around, that Mel Robbins is like, that's a whole other conversation. But somebody over on TikTok did a poem about let them, and it's now being released as a book by Mel Robbins. And it is all about this. If people are going to be disappointed with your boundaries, let them. If people are going to be upset because you said no, let them. If somebody is upset because you've asked for space, or a client is angry because you're not overworking yourself, let them. It's theirs. Like, it's the gift that you don't need to accept. It's theirs.
That's really, I feel very called out tonight.
To be fair, every time we have a conversation or you listen to one of my podcasts, you're like, I feel very called out.
Yes, I do. You
I
have
do
that knack.
And it's because I live it. Like, I'm not perfect in any, I don't want to be perfect. Like, I still have my messes to work through and surrendering to do and getting in my own head. And there are times I've not broken my boundaries, but I've certainly bent them. It takes consistent work, and it's that self-forgiveness and self-acceptance piece that's really key in this, is not to be so hard on yourself if you slip back a little bit, even if it's once in a while. It's the awareness of it that's important, is that you're aware that it's happened and you think, okay, I can do some work around this, I can reinforce things, I can tighten things up, but I'm not going to beat myself up for it, because that shame is what then gets you going back into old patterns.
Yep, that makes so much sense.
So it's cutting yourself some slack too. Like I said, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We're all doing the work.
And I just want to kind of highlight what Sarah goes on to say normally about she wants to live till she's 100.
I do. I always say I'm constantly learning and constantly growing, because in my mind, when we are the finished article, we don't need to be here anymore. And personally, I want to live to 100. So I've got at least another 8 years of growing and making mistakes and learning. So yeah, I'm all for it.
That's a fab goal. I like that.
I love
Good
that.
to be ambitious.
So Becky, do you want to let people know where they can find you and what amazing things you've got going on at the moment?
Yes, well, I would have said there was things coming up, but we're about to pivot. I cannot interestingly, cannot spill the tea on it just yet. However, everybody can find me on my profile, which I'm sure Donna will link.
We will have all the links in the show notes.
And I do have a free masterclass coming up on the 20th of March called The Reckoning, which just sounds really intimidating, but it's not. And the reason I'm continuing with it, I was going to be releasing something incredible at the end, moving forward into April. However, because I've said pivot, it's actually so poignant to kind of shift my era by ending on that masterclass, because it is all around surrendering. It is around that, like, reconnecting to the parts of yourself that has dimmed themselves down, diluted themselves, said yes when they wanted to say no, looking at that grief, that resentment, that anger that we can carry. And there's a huge, powerful activation at the end of it that I'm so excited to deliver. I've been working on it for weeks, and it's just so fitting to deliver that and then move into that era, because that is what it's about. That's what a reckoning is about. It's kind of reclaiming and saying, do you know what? We're told once we pick what we're doing that we have to stick with it, regardless of whether we're enjoying it or outgrown it or resenting it and don't like it anymore, or the energy isn't aligned. But it really is about claiming that power and that self-advocacy and saying, actually, I love it, but it's not working for me anymore, and I'm going to go off in this direction, because the path that you set out on will always bend to whichever direction you want to go in. And that's what a lot of women don't realize, is once they've chosen a path, that they have to stay on that path. They don't realize that that path can move and flow and bend with whichever direction she chooses. So that's coming up March 20th. I will give Donna the link. And for the rest, you'll probably have to tune into my podcast to find out what the tea is.
That's okay. We will link that as well. And you should go and listen to her podcast because it's incredible, just like she is.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Becky. It's been
You're
incredible having you as our first guest. And thank you very much for listening, everybody, where we spoke about a lot of people pleasing, boundaries, and all the other exciting things coming up.
welcome.
And you can find us across our social media, across on ADH Tea, the podcast, on Threads mostly, and Instagram, which we will be trying to do more things on, but I keep forgetting about it. And you can find me across on Unravel Tea socials, mostly Instagram, and Sarah on
TikTok and Facebook, and I've been dormant on everything, but I promise that I'm coming back, guys. So thank you for sticking with me and watch this space.
And she's also going to get our blog sorted.
Yes, that's coming as well, a new website. So yes.
So you can read all her incredible writing. Okay, thank you so much. And we will be back in your ears next week.
Bye. And thank you, Becky.
So